So finally, I am at the Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEC, and I'm sure you all know what IDEC stands for: justice, fairness, and equality for all. Now, why am I here? I'm here to talk to a man that I admired very much. Now, you see, I'm not here to talk to him because he built a big house or because he's particularly rich or has a big car, but because of his service and his dying passion to see an equal and fair society for you and I. And as easy and as simple as it is, not very many Ghanaians have that dying passion. But this is a man who's done that all through school. But I'm here to find out, where did that passion come from? How is he sustaining it? But my big question to him is, even though he fights for democracy, whose democracy does he want? Folks, I'm going to talk to Dr. Emmanuel Akwetey. It's going to be fantastic. Stay tuned. Well, thank you very much for staying. And as I said in my intro, see, one day if I'm going to be interviewed, I don't want to be interviewed because I build a big house or because I drive a sports car or have some fancy watch. But I would like to be interviewed because I did some good work which my nation found it worthy enough to be interviewed. So that's why I'm sat here with a lot of pride and smiles to talk to Dr. Emmanuel Akwetey, because indeed he has championed a crusade to see a just and fair society. Impressionable, commendable. Doctor, let me say thank you very much for this interview. And I am very privileged to steal a bit of your busy schedule.
Sure, you're welcome.
To talk to you.
I'm honored, but I know you are Kanu.
No, this one is not Kanu.
This one. Okay.
This one won't be Kanu. Even maybe at the end we'll bring a bit of governance.
Well,
and see if we can
you're
do
welcome
Kanu.
on any issue. Yeah.
But look, I've looked on the internet. Everything it says about is the awards you have won, your good initiatives, UN inviting you here. I don't even know where you were born.
Well, I was born in Accra, Megan. I come from Bese Shiawulu, the royal family.
Oh, we have something in common.
We are, yes. We are very closely associated with Bese Manche.
Okay.
Yes. My name, Akwetey, is actually the name of my grandfather, who was twins.
Okay.
Okay. Our name is originally Okai. And you see, Bese Manches, they usually go with the name Okai. Ni Okai, Bese like you.
Okay.
So, but my father, for various reasons, didn't want to be a chief, and he changed the name to Akwetey.
Okay.
And then he was a police officer, and smart as he was, he changed the name and left Accra, went on posting, and they couldn't find him to catch him to be the chief, and that changed the course of history. But
so you could have been a prince.
Yes, as a citizen now. So that's where I come from. My mother also comes from Asren, also of Gamashi. Okay. They are close by. And lately I discovered that, I've always known but never been that my mom, my maternal grandmother, also came from the Adidome royal house,
okay.
The paramountcy. Yeah, I went there after when one of my aunts died about almost a year and a half ago, and then we went in there and they showed us all the pictures and so on. So I'm Ghanaian, full bred.
Blue blood.
And
blue blood.
and lived throughout Ghana. My father's profession as a policeman moved us throughout the country. So I grew up a lot in Kumasi, in the Ashanti region, Bekwai, Ijura, and Tuakrom. My last station, of course, as residents of Kumasi, because my father was active in the service, was at Kofrom, in Kumasi, near the Wesley College. And I went to Dara Barracks Primary School, yes, in Kumasi, Soja Line, so on the way to City Hotel, you find the military academy, and the school is sitting somewhere there, and also close to Bantama. And I actually stayed, the police barracks is near Okomfo, and then it's near the, the Kejetia, station. And then as you walk across, you're going to the cultural center. And there used to be the zoo, Kumasi Zoo, and the library. And on days that I didn't feel like going to school, because the discipline at the military school, army school, was too much. So if you're late, you know that you'll be whipped. So as soon as, and it was a shift system, sometimes we went in the morning, sometimes in the evening. And when you miss the school track, you know you're going to be late because we were picked up.
Okay.
So, and my father shouldn't know I'm late, so I strayed away into the zoo or the library or the cultural center. And sometimes I went to KJT where they played the drought, Dami. And I used to watch that and so on. Yeah.
Well, you're a sacred boy.
Yes, I do. I can claim that, yeah.
I will divert a bit and come back. Why did we miss that system? Because this same school that you're talking about has produced you.
The Saito.
Yeah. Today won't produce another Dr. Akwetey, or very little chance of producing another doctor.
Yes, that's true.
Very little chance. How's mom? Was mom educated? Or?
No, my mom didn't go to school, but she spoke English, broken English. She was a trader.
Okay.
She was a very beautiful woman, very charismatic and very religious in the Apostolic Church, but she was also a trader. Probably my first feminist who wouldn't tolerate a lot of things from men. And I found out that, yes, she left my dad. There were three of us. Yeah.
I see.
But the details I don't know myself, so don't go there.
I won't go there. Big family, how many siblings?
Well, I come from a big family. Together we're about 13.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have half siblings who are also very prominent in the public space. But in our family, we don't really. You couldn't tell we are half siblings the way we were brought up. Yes, so.
Dad's effort or mom's effort?
I think my dad. Yeah, my dad just wanted his children, and you are brought up to show a lot of respect to the person older than you. So, for instance, it's only lately I could call my older or eldest brother by his first name, Bright. But at home you dare not. You say bra. You see, the bra was extremely important, and my dad will correct you, or my mom would simply say, "You dare not," and so on. Yeah.
It's good upbringing.
Yes. We had a bit.
So you left Marseille, and then little birdie tells me you went to Labone.
Yes, then we came to Accra. My father's final year in the police service, we moved to Teshi, where he was posted, and then I went to the Teshi school. I finished the middle school.
Okay.
I just did about a term, but because of the training, Kumasi, the education was very good at the military school, and they were strict. You get to class 7 in the morning, there's already mental on the board. Wow. And it's usually 20 sums you have to work out. And then if you don't get 20, you probably get 18, you get some 2 lashes. And then they take you through each one, and each one...
I can feel the recollection. If you go 15, then you owe 5 lashes.
Yes, so it prepared me so well. At that time, there's a cluster of schools. When you drive past Kofi Annan, KIPTC, and there's a family hospital or something on the right that's heading towards Teshi inside. There's a turning, immediate turning. There's a cluster of schools there. It used to be called the Teshi 8, 9, and 10 Amalgamated School. It was a site. And so from Kumasi, when we came to Accra, we lived near the police station. There was a rented place there, and I went to school there. And then I sort of did very well in the exams in the whole of Teshi Primary and so on. This boy from Kumasi came and topped them, wow. and then I later on went to Labone.
When you came back from Kumasi, were you still able to speak Ga, or your Ga?
Oh, we spoke Ga. My parents were Gans, and we spoke Ga at home.
Okay.
But the interesting thing is that because we lived abroad in different places of the country, we are so detribalized. You know, when we meet and we're going to have a family meeting as siblings, even when our mom was there, we are likely to veer into Chi.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have Chi names. I'm Kweku, you know, and somebody will say, hey, Kweku, it's saying, also, you know, that kind of thing. And strangely, we only one or two of my siblings married Gans. We all married to Kans, you know, Chi, Fanti, Kwewu, there's, you know, that kind of. And the affinity with other groups are simply there. My older brother, Mr. Bright Akwetey, the lawyer, who they went to Tamale, Bogatanga, and he speaks all those languages.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I have sisters who speak Seshi and all that, but mine is just Chi and then Fanti.
I see,
Yeah.
I see. I mean, I speak to lots of people, well, and those whose parents were police, you know, in the police force back then. I mean, you used to get a lot of postings. What is it like every 2 years or 3 years? Because Victor Smith,
Yes.
you know, says, you know, his father was all over the place, and they had to, you know, move.
Yes. The transfers were regular. You know, the police force had never been a very big. At that time, it was police service, you know, and so on, and they'd never been a very big, you know, organization. And then they moved officers around a lot, especially those who probably they found to be effective, because sometimes there were new stations or difficult police stations, and then they would go and take charge and all that. But I think the maximum could be 2 years, if on the average 2 years, but it could otherwise maximum would be 3. Yeah.
I mean, so were you losing friends growing up, where as soon as you make this acquaintance and then you're off?
Yes, it happened a lot. Wow. Yeah, and also with time, somehow some of my friends' childhood still recognize me, and you get calls or they meet you or they, you know, and I have forgotten a bit about, you know, somewhere, you know, those ages, but maybe programs like this always puts you out, or the name and so on, they recognize, yeah, and there, but it was difficult because we were always constantly moving. Yeah.
How was it like starting a new school every 3 years? Because I mean, I know it's daunting sitting in a class.
You know, you take it in your stride. You don't even feel it, because by the time we get there, Dad had arranged everything, and we settled seamlessly. Yeah, you go there, you arrive. Once we move to the bungalow or something, the next day he takes you to school, and that's it. And you start making friends, and you're sorted out. And the language made it easier. Yeah, we always would connect, and it's Chi or Fanti or something, predominantly. Yeah.
Blending.
Yes, we blended. Yes.
Any childhood memories that you can never forget?
Like in what sector?
Not first.
I was a good goalkeeper, and
really?
Played football, but without boots or canvas, you know, and so you get hurt. Sometimes you tripped and so on. I think I was usually quite calm, but also quite engaged in many things I did. I did that passionately. I was a bit of a truant, I said to you later, because I feared the lashes in school. I wasn't too happy, but my father solved it. I'll tell you what happened. One day, I didn't go to school. It was the afternoon shift in Kumasi, and I think I left home late, and my dad didn't know. So I scared to go. I had this teacher, Mr. Kefia, who was really a disciplinarian, but he shaped me up. You know, a very jolly, tall, huge man with a beard and full of laughter and so on, but strict. So I went to KJTR around where they play the draft and so on, and then spent some time at the library. So I timed it. You know, usually we used to close around 4:30. So around 5:30, that was the time we always got home. And the military truck dropped us. So I timed it. I mean, there was a clock there. I saw it and started walking and so on. And that day was a very bad day. I still feel that way. You know, when I was just about 50 meters or less to the police station, because our house was at the back. And a coincidence of things, the truck suddenly pulls up and it stops in front of the police station because I have colleagues who go to that same school, and they said, "Hey, Emmanuel, bad boy didn't come to school." Just then my father appeared on the corridor. So he looked at me, and then I stood there for a while, and then he called me. So I didn't go. I backed off and ran away. And that meant that dinner delayed. You see, but my mom made sure she knew where I was. My siblings came, one or two of them came looking for me. And then I was given my food late. My dad was tired, went to bed, and so on. So around 8, 9, I went to the room to sleep. But around early morning, maybe it could have been around 5 o'clock, my father came for me. He just, I was scared, but he was very gentle. He didn't beat me up or something. He just tapped me, opened my eyes, and he just said, "Come." So he helped me, and he went to the bedroom and says, "What's happening? Why didn't you go to school? Did you go speak the truth?" And I said, "No." At that time, I couldn't tell lies. I could have, but it would be too. So I owned up. And then I told him that yes, I did, and he says, "Why?" And I said, lateness by a few lashes, and the teacher is, so I didn't really enjoy the class and so on. So he said, "Okay, I should get ready and go." I didn't know he would go to the school, so we went to school. And then I was called to the head teacher's office, and my dad was there. He followed up, and well, I can't recall exactly what the conversation was. But it was confirmed, yes, I didn't come to school, and I've been doing that a few times. And then I left. But later on when I went home, he had bought books, mathematics, history, those subjects that I didn't like because of the caning, And strangely, he decided to sit with me in the evenings, and some of the more he taught me what to do. And I think he was in touch with the school. And that term, everything changed. Yes, everything changed. I mean, maths was good, history was good, geography, English, I topped the class, and I never looked back since then. So my father really, the way he approached it, I think if he had been harsh and beaten me or something, it would have made it worse, but he saw I was, So it's one of the memories. I have other ones, but maybe this is enough for you.
This is a good one. I mean, every man.
There's one with food too. Maybe you like to know.
I'd like to know that.
Goodness. Ejra, and I was always curious about things. I am the person who would dismantle. The big radios were called radiograms.
Yeah.
I'll dismantle it, and I have a bit of interior decoration in me. I changed positions of chairs and things, and my dad, who has done this? And everybody knew that it's me. So I changed the radio positioning, but I fidgeted and I couldn't fix things. So my dad comes and it had certain knobs, you press it. It didn't work.
The big one with the cabinet underneath.
Yes, with the cabinet underneath. And he said, "Who had done this?" I think everybody knew, but I denied. But he knew I was the one. So I got a few lashes and so on. But not long after, I fell ill, I think malaria or something, so I couldn't go to school. And I needed some pampering, and my mom was good at that. If you were not well, she would just take good care of you, and what you eat, you're asked every time, minobaye and so on. So I loved jollof, and especially, the crust. Asewa shikakra, the kind of thing. And she gave me that she cooked with beef and all that, and I really liked it. But I'd come to like not going to school. And so she served this food, and I wanted to finish it. But if I finished it, there was no way my dad would allow me to stay home. So I ate to a point, and then left the rest of the food. My mom said,
to show how sick
"Are
you
you
were?"
full?" I said, "Yes." She says, "Are you sure?" She took the food away, but I wasn't happy at all. But then... And it stayed with me, that jollof, because I really wanted it back. But then I didn't want to go to school, so it worked. That she took it back, it was a very costly thing to do. And I stayed the next day, and then subsequently I went back to school.
Because if you finish it, then there's no way you're...
Oh, my dad would not. Next morning, you're leaving. You're going to school,
So you have to sacrifice it.
Yes, I never forgot it. You know, I still tell my children that it's better to speak the truth.
I'm going to take a break here. When I come back, I'm going to find out where did Dr. get his passion for nationalism, you know, this idea to create a just and fair Ghana. Where did it come from? Don't move.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for staying. We're having a one-on-one with Dr. Emmanuel Akwetey, and for all the men listening, you know, if you detect anything, you know, wrong about the child, or your child is naughty, you know, call them in, show them love, and they might improve. And for all the little ones who are being served your dinner and thinking that I'm going to eat half of it because you don't go to school, forget it. Forget it. Doc, but where did you do your tertiary education?
Legon.
Legon.
Well, secondary, maybe secondary first. Yeah, secondary first. Laboni Secondary School. Yeah, Laboni Secondary School.
I dare say you don't look like a Laboni. You know.
Oh, mine. I'm a true representative. I mean, an authentic Labonian. You know, it's a very good school, and yeah, Laboni.
Lots of friends that went to Laboni.
Yes, and you see them as gentlemen. Isn't it?
So.
Most of yeah.
I guess.
And you know the difference between Labonians and those who go to the Addisodel boys and so on. We never stage coups. Okay, we are very democratic. We like constitutional rule, and you can find many of our products in there.
I need to do that research.
Yeah, you need to look at Mortons and so on. We are very constitutional.
I can imagine my viewers all kicking in their living room. What is he talking about?
Yes, the Mortons and Addisodel boys and Augustins. Just look at the history, and they are always there. Yeah, they're always there. Yeah.
So send your words to Laboni.
Oh, you did?
I'm telling you viewers to send your words to Laboni.
Send it, yes, sure.
Become democratic. Sure. How was life in Laboni? Good?
It was good. It was great fun.
Days of interco?
Yes, and the interco was there, the debates, the entertainment. It was a boarding school. Cute in a number of ways with all the discipline. And we had time to study and to do various things. You're in the drama group. I wasn't so much in the Crife group, but we had church service was always good. We had preachers come in, and we had the option to go to the Catholic 1 hour or 30 minutes service. Okay. So if you had lots of work to go, you go there. And so we had, you know, fathers coming from Aquinas to do that for us. We bonded well. It was fun. I mean, anytime you reflected on school, the food was good, the entertainment was good, the competitions with schools, inter-college debates and so on, we were involved in all those. And Gunsa, you know, the student clubs, we were in the United Nations Students and Youth Association. So we traveled around. I simply say we had a good time, but it was also a strict school with some of our teachers who, you know, you hear their names and you dodge, because the bungalows of the house masters and the house mistresses were so close to the boarding house, and sometimes they sprung surprises and they had things, you know, and so on. And the favorite moments were the soakings, you know, you get up at maybe, you work hard, and around 11 or 12 or 1 or 2 you have your gari and shito.
Whoever had a tin of milk was Bill Gates.
Yes. It was good. It was a good time. Yeah, it was a good time we had in Laboni.
I still haven't gotten my head around, you know, SS and JSS. I mean, there was something rich about that straight 1 to 5. I don't know if you feel the same. I mean, I never did the JSS thing, but
no, I didn't.
Something so rich about that. You know, from 1 to 5, you know, staying with your peers for a good 5 years.
Yeah, it was. It bonded. You know, I always tell people that the primary school bonding is there, but the secondary school one is the most enduring. Okay, and we stayed together. We learned, studied together. We gamed together. We suffered whatever we suffered together. And they were the formative years, and you know, that kind of bonding, it was like a family. And even after school, you recall, especially for those of us who were in Accra, we still, the same groups moved around the holidays. At Abraka, Kanishi, where most were staying, Laboni, we moved from house to house and so on. So the bonding lasted and so on. But then also the education, the foundation was strong. I mean, I talked about Kumasi, but Laboni wasn't any different at that time. It was a very strict, you just have to take your studies seriously. And it was a mixture of sanctions, if you were not doing well, you'd be told. The teachers would talk to you and so on. And we had some good times, I would say. But it's a combination. It was quite balanced. There was firmness and discipline, but we also had scope to know ourselves and have entertainment and grow in some freedom. And we were not really bad students, as you probably would say about other schools. But there were a few who would go after, jump the walls and go to the discotheques and so on, and did all sorts of, and would come with, especially those from rich homes, preaching on the campus and so on, because it's right in the city center and so on. But it was a good thing. Education, I think, was good. The foundation was strong.
At tertiary, so you enter into Legon. By then, did you know you were going to be this social warrior? Is that a good word? Or national warrior? Nationalistic warrior?
Yes, our time was a period of, we had a strong sense and pride of being Ghanaian and African. You see, the Pan-Africanist education from the 60s, 70s continued, in spite of Nkrumah's overthrow and departure. But it was strong. And then the associations, for instance, the United Nations Students and Youth Association, NUCS was very, very Pan-African and Ghanaian. I mean, it defended African. It was the anti-imperialist period where you were conscientized. Multinationals coming to Africa and how they were plundering our resources. The Walter Rodneys and their writings were shaping you up and so on. In political science in particular, political economy and the books you read and the lecturers and so on. So on all fronts, both at home where you have, our father was a policeman and he had his discipline, but he also had such pride doing what is right in Ghana, Africa. You watched the parades, you went to the parades. School time, you were involved in almost every national event, no matter where you were, and so on. So it shaped you up, and you had the sense that Ghana leads, and in Africa, and it got stronger the higher you went on the education ladder. In tertiary, it was very, very strong, and so on. So the clubs we joined, in fact, we were not taught public speaking or debates in class, but you picked it from the United Nations Students and Youth Association, the debating clubs. And so on. There were a lot of intercollegiate, secondary school competitions of different kinds and so on. You read the papers actively because current affairs was a very strong subject, and everybody had to do current affairs in secondary school. Yes, and you don't do well, everybody knows, And so you were kept up. Etiquette was taught, how to be civil in your behaviors, in your manners, and so on and so forth. And these were, rapid exams you took, you must know everything and all that and so on. And so it was a very rounded, curriculum. And we had good teachers who took their science, arts, were very serious people and so on. Now, by the time we got to the university, we had been in the same associations, and there were affinities with the university tertiary level institutions. And NUCS, for instance, had such strong presence. And most of them were radicals, left. And you found the orators, you found those who organized, and you were doing conventions every long back, focused on some global issue, going around raising funds and so on, 3-day conventions, looking at public policy questions and so on. So it sort of gave you a certain orientation and a certain pride in in you thinking Ghana, Africa first. The anti-imperialist and anti-colonialist, education was strong. The books were there to be read. The drama, art, music. And interestingly, you'll find out that there was a time, even Mobutu tried to be, when he changed his name from Joseph to Mobutu Sese Seko. It caught on, we all thought we should drop our names. And we did it in school. I mean, I, for instance, dropped my Emmanuel, which was my father's name he gave to me, and called myself Emmanuel Akwetey. Okay, and registered my O-levels for that and so on. So, with hindsight, I think the school shouldn't have. They should have sought Oriental. But somehow...
But were you over 18 then? No.
No. But it went through. Somehow, I don't understand why, but many changed their names on at the time of O-levels. Many. We just dropped our foreign-sounding English or Christian names and said pure African. Now, my dad goes to the school when the results came, and he wanted the results for Emmanuel Akwetey. And there was no Emmanuel Akwetey, but he saw Emmanuel Akwetey. Yes, he was tall, huge, and has this deep voice. So he comes and says, Tefio. Then you know you're in trouble. Yeah. Then he says, oh, are you aware your results are out? I said, yes. He says, have you gone to school to learn? And I said, no. They said, our parents. He said, what name did you register for the exams? Then I started, I just went away. I ran away. My father, as a policeman, he was such a disciplinarian, and he had a certain intimidating presence, although he was very loving and caring and gentle. But, huge, tall, and deep voice. And the way he looks at you, you're in trouble. Yeah, and you always need my mom to step in, so and so. So that was the name. But my father was deeply unhappy about it. And I didn't think of the fact that it was his name that he had passed on to me. And so there was no Emmanuel Akwetey 1, 2, or 3, or something like that. So it was part of his reasons for not letting me go to 6th form boarding. I had to stay.
That Pan-Africanist spirit, should it be,
it should be instilled. Yes, it wasn't so, well, it depends on parents. There are homes that you have strong...
No, I'm talking about in school.
Yes, both. Socialization is needed. We had it at home too. My father was very proud of, and because of his police, he was a bit strict, and he wanted you to do the right thing, but also to know what you couldn't plead ignorance, and so on. So he got us involved and wanted to know what we were doing in school and so on. Then in secondary school, there was a curriculum there. Yeah. You learned about your culture, your heritage, and so on. And in the universities, the first year African Studies program took you through a lot. So it's part of education, and now it's not there.
I wish they brought it back.
They should, actually, because the Pan-African agenda is fully on course. Probably more extensive, deeper, and with a lot more vigor. A lot is happening at the AU level. And if you look carefully or you observe, ECOWAS cannot make any decisions in moving troops or wanting sanctions, whether it's Mali or something, without first talking to AU. ECOWAS can go straight to the UN Security Council to say we are building a force to fight Boko Haram, so we need your support. No, it has to go through AU.
Okay.
Yes, we have to report each year on how the extent to which Ghana has implemented AU protocols, conventions, and policies, decisions.
In leaving uni, what did you want to do?
Well, I'd always been focused on change.
Wow.
Yes, those who, my colleagues and those who knew me will not find anything different from what I do now. And maybe the manner in which I do it and so on. But on campus, I belonged well, it was very ideological at that time, and I was left, but I wasn't the left you would see with maybe, hairs and Afromosis and so on and so forth, but I was consistently. But I was persuaded that we can develop our country, we can do better. I was quite interested in doing public service, but public service that would improve the well-being of people. I didn't like the poverty around, and I had lived in many rural communities because of my father's work. Yeah. And we've lived in all sorts of situations, And the system of government and management of the economy was failing. If you look at the 70s, and the 80s. So
I'm a bit of an Achamponist, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm an Achampon apologist.
Okay. But you could see the continuation of how the economy declined in the 70s, and then in the 80s we're in serious crisis. And so it wasn't only Ghana; various African countries went through that. But I was always curious. I was searching for a solution. Yes, and it drove my choices. I felt the colonial regimes that had been imposed, whether it was British or French, the Westminster, systems had not worked. And I was looking for alternatives. So I wasn't particularly interested to go and study in the UK or in France or the US, because I wanted to look at models, alternative models of development, and it influenced what I read, what I looked for, and so on. So I took great interest in the Scandinavian model of welfare, the welfare state, and how it developed education, health. So my initial years studying in Sweden, I took great interest in social democracy and how they built a modern society and overcame poverty and had policies that catered for accessible quality education, healthcare, employment, housing, public transport, and so on and so forth, which were not things we were pushing strongly and so on. So it's inner, it's innate. I had always been like that. Yeah.
What was your first ever job after leaving uni?
What's my
first ever job after leaving university?
I did national service. Well, my first job unpaid was the student task force to cut cocoa.
Okay.
Those were the revolutionary days, and the final year it affected us in delayed graduation in '82. And then we had to do national service, and then it wasn't that paid. I don't think there were the difficulties of the revolutionary years between 81 and 84, 85. You didn't probably get paid for many things. Yeah. And so then not long after, I went to university. I went to Stockholm.
Okay, Stockholm.
And then I had scholarships, one scholarship out there, and then I started lecturing.
Oh, okay.
And
you had it quite easy there. So you didn't do any cleaning or trains and...
we did a bit of that. I sold newspapers. I wanted extra money to do things to help. Although with hindsight, I probably should have concentrated more on my studies, because I had scholarships. I had some of the best scholarships you think about. Yeah, it was competitive. It was a very open system. So you got the scholarship if you applied. My going, however, I got a scholarship from the Swedish Institute and wrote to them and said, look, I want to study. I want to look at your development model and how it operates, but and also improve my education. The facilities at Legon and the universities in Ghana were in serious trouble. So I made a strong case and I got the scholarship. And then thereafter entered the PhD program and then competed for the scholarships and so on. And it was, they did not discriminate. I was still a Ghanaian, not a permanent resident. I was a student, but I qualified to apply for any scholarship.
Wow.
And then you get it. Sometimes I had Swedish colleagues who reacted. Badly, I can tell you. There was one situation where the doctoral fellowship given to me was quite high, and my colleagues, there were two Swedish guys who didn't like it at all. They protested, But then the university said,
He's ended.
competition.
He's ended.
Yeah, and they stopped talking to me. We were sharing office, they moved out.
Can you believe it? You thought it was in Ghana alone. It's global. But I'm going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to find out from Doctor, because he said something very nice, that he didn't want the American model, the British model, so he studied the Swedish model. Which model is good for us? Do we have to copy somebody, or do we need to create our own model? And where is this? Which one is it going to be? Don't even move. It's going to get interesting. See, I told in the beginning of the interview that it would be nice to be spoken to about something good you did and not because of something you bought. You know, they say a good name is always better because you know what? It lives forever. It will live beyond you. Your houses and your cars will be demolished and devalued, and your good name will live on. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm happy. But before I move on to the big debate between my doctor, find out which governance system is better, let me congratulate him for the Millennium Excellence Award, Martin Luther King Award, and also a member of the EPG, Eminent
Persons Group of the Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth. I'll start with that one. How did it come? Telephone call, letter, email?
Yes, apparently the Commonwealth has majority of countries being African, and when they set up the EPG to reform, they decided that they would choose. They first chose Dr. Grasa Machel, Mrs. President Mandela's wife, to represent Africa, but President Mandela was in a poor state, so she couldn't. But they wanted two Africans because of her number. And so they searched for a man, a woman, and a man. That was the representation. I don't know whether Mrs. Machel was a factor in that, push that. So I was there in September. We were actually at, is it called Manguasi? You know, when you're going to Akosombo,
Yeah, Manguasi.
yes, the place where Afrikiko,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, we were reviewing the Constitution. Okay, the report of the CRC.
Okay.
Yeah, and that day we had Raymond Atuguba and others taking us through the report and so on. And then this call came, and they said, well, this is a call from the Commonwealth Secretariat London. The Commonwealth Secretary General would like to speak to you, so please hold on. It was so quick, they couldn't allow me to say, well, I'm in a meeting, can you call in 10 minutes or something? So I held on, and then he came on, you know, with a deep voice and elegantness. Says, "Are you Emmanuel Akwetey?" But he spoke as if he knew me. And then he said, "Well, I called you because we've read about you and had recommendations from various places about the work you do. We need somebody to represent Africa to serve on the Eminent Persons Group, and your name came up, and we've done what we need to do."
I've even got tears in my eyes. I even got teary eyes now.
We've done what we needed to do, and I'm happy to invite you to join us, and we'll be happy if you would accept to serve. You know, I didn't know the man, and so, and I wasn't expecting. There was no hint from anybody that there was something like that coming. It was in September 2010. So. And immediately I said, well, I'm on it, and if duty calls, you know, you respond. So I'll be happy to be part of it. And he says, okay, very good. And then we tried to find out, so what are you doing at the moment? I talked a bit about it, and I said, oh, we're in a workshop looking at Ghana's constitution. And he says, that's why we needed you here. So, so then the letter followed, and then I went to the first meeting the following month.
It's beautiful. Then I'm going to move forward to the recent one, which is the Martin Luther King Award.
Yes.
Again, it's about the same criteria where I know they look for people who call for peace and mediate, and you know, the radar again fell on you.
Yes, I didn't know the connection, and you know, it was a pleasant surprise and a great honor, and also coming from the U.S. Embassy. We don't have a previous history of working with them.
Okay.
Of course, we do interviews, and when they have people, and sometimes some of our students, staff, had gone on their programs abroad. They have the short courses, and they ask if there are people, USAID and so on, and then the network members. So it wasn't like, but they appear to have been observing and monitoring the environment and who is doing what and so on. So somebody calls me and says, well, are you Dr. Akwetey? I said yes, and he says, okay, you've been nominated, for the Martin Luther King Award. But, I didn't understand nomination to mean you've won the award. Because, usually, yes, you nominate and then they will decide on who gets that. And they didn't explain much and so on. And they said, you hear from us. There will be a letter and so on. But then they started now asking for, they already had my profile. They wanted me to edit and see whether it was okay. And I said yes. And then the letter came, and then somebody came to talk to me a bit more, some details on things and like that and so on. So that's how.
Wow.
Come.
Now, I'm going to skip forward, because if I'm going to talk about the awards, I'll need another program. But Doc, one of your main aims, one of the things you're championing for is justice, equality, fairness is what you're adjusting for. And you are doing it on base of democratic governance. As much as I agree on democratic governance, whose democracy are we championing for us?
Our own democracy.
No, we don't have our own. We have some sort of an American.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
Yeah.
You see, the time, our idyllic state, we lost that a long time through colonialism. And our interaction with the world had gone on for centuries. And so anytime we try to look at what is uniquely, extraordinarily, exclusively African, and the system, especially the political systems and the economic system, they are intertwined, they are fused, maybe not completely integrated, but the linkages, okay, are there, okay, and they are strong. And it has influenced us. So as a people, we are Ghanaians, and we come from various villages and so on. But our education, what the language we are speaking now and so on, also makes us cosmopolitan. Therefore, we benefit from global knowledge, okay, but without sacrificing our culture and our knowledge. And I think we need to infuse a lot of our knowledge into the global discourses, which we haven't been doing, because the documentation has been rather weak, because it's such an oral tradition. But you can see the beauty of what first among equals means in the Ashanti Kingdom. The king is first among equals. And if you look at how he's selected, how he sits in court, and so on and so forth, he has clear constraints, limitations on his power.
Too much.
There are areas he doesn't go. There are spheres of influence, of independence of various councils and chiefs and how it's advised and so on. So when you're talking about separation of powers, balance of power, what are we talking about? It's in our culture. We didn't elevate it into global knowledge, but it resonates well with us. The Americans have moved from liberal democracy, where you're looking at the parties.
Let me just add a little to what you said. Because as a chief,
Yes.
even though I'm the chief of the town,
Yes.
I have all the authority, but I have no power.
Yeah. And the structures are there.
Yeah, I have all the authority.
Embodied
but
by
I
people,
have no
but the
power.
structures are there, yes.
And then each office has their own power.
Exactly.
And then together we can.
Exactly.
make-
And this thing about flouting and so on, office and staying on, has a colonial, anchorage, because that's when they interfered with the system and so on and so forth. So that is one of the things that you will see clearly is an African culture that we've left. The principles are there. If you look at the principles, the oath the chief takes, accountability is there. Corruption is not tolerated, the honor and so on. So why do these principles not guide us? What makes us feel we take it from America? But I was going to tell you, Americans have put, and much of Europe have moved beyond liberal democracy, multi-party politics, elections and so on. They've been talking about participation, participatory democracy. They've been talking about deliberative democracy. There is everything African about it when you think what they're doing. How decisions are made and how grassroots people get involved. Deliberation is innate is integral to our culture of discussions at the home.
Yeah.
Look at how our parents will call us, parents who have scarce resources and therefore cannot meet everybody's wish around Christmas, or we are going to boarding schools and the, chop box and, and the things that should be put in, we'll call you and have a conversation. And we'll tell you why this person will get now, but be patient, we'll get it. So the trade-offs are clear, and it's deliberative. But we never elevated our deliberative culture to the discourse at the national level. And so we are not infusing the liberal democracy we've adopted, which is actually partly global, and actually in a big modern society, you can't do the baobab tree thing.
No.
It's a representative government you can do at best, the parties and so on. But every democracy, the British will tell you their democracy is different from the Belgians, from the French, from the Swiss, because they've infused it with their culture and their heritage and institutions. The Scandinavians actually argue the Danish democracy, the Swedish democracy, Finnish, Norwegian, and so on. And you find subtle differences. And I think we're in the process of also doing that in Ghana. But we need to do it much more. If you ask me which democracy or our democracy in the Fourth Republic we define as hybrid. We were looking at what had worked well in our context in terms of the parliamentary and what had worked in terms of the presidential. And an incident in 81 led us to say, okay, we should define the hybridness or hybridity by having a cabinet in Parliament. And then now we're saying that, look, that was a wrong decision because it does not lead to effective parliamentary oversight and accountability and so on. And the solutions preferred is that separate them. It means let's go back purely to a parliamentary system or a presidential system. Anytime we say that, I feel as Ghanaians, we are not challenging ourselves enough to find our unique solutions to the problem. Okay, the hybridity may not be as widespread as we're saying, but we can deepen it because for two reasons. One, I think that we've had stability in Ghana. This is the most stable republic because of the hybrid arrangement. And it has clear philosophical underpinnings. There had always been a liberal democratic wing of our politics, and there have also been a participatory, people-centered, culture. And we've also liked the strong president, or head of state and so on and so forth. Now, we found a way in the Constitution to put this together. I can see him typing, so I'm going to wrap it and so on. So I can see him typing, but we have had stability, 22 years, and we can go forever. But we've also reached a stage where we've seen that, yes, we got democracy and the stability of parties and elections and so on, but the system is not yielding, generating the kind of development we want, as the Constitution says, our cohesion, the growth, the economy, the well-being of all, and so on. We have to find the solutions in deepening hybridity and finding that which works. So, for instance, if you ask me my thinking, whether I think if the cabinet is purely appointed, out of Parliament, and Parliament has a certain autonomy, and that will bring about what we need, I would say I'm not sure. Because, I will tell you I'm not sure because, we are missing a link. How Parliament works and effectively in holding executive accountable under the parliamentary or the presidential, it depends on the political parties.
Doc, I need to come back and continue this discussion because
you should.
When I come back, if it grants me this, my first question
I come to your studio to make it quicker.
You see, my first question is, with this level of education and the amount of illiteracy, can we understand this system for it to work? So this is to be continued.
It has worked for 22 years. The same illiteracy, maybe worse before.
But it hasn't brought development. Thank you very much for watching.
Development that needs to be equitable.
We'll have to continue this debate, and I'm sure Famous is going to grant us that. Doctors grant us that. But Doc, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
It's been very exciting. Folks, until I come to you next Friday with a different personality, this has been Dr. Emmanuel Akwetey. What an interview. Thanks for watching.